Hello, everybody. Excellent. So, what I'm going to do now is talk on a few things. And before we do that, I'll introduce myself. And this, I am the vice chair at the UK National Commission for UNESCO, at responsible for higher education. Agenda is fairly straightforward. Introduce to you what UNESCO chairs mean, explain to you the process and the criteria, and I'll remind you of the key dates that you need to make a note of. Finally, there's an opportunity to ask any questions you might have. Colleagues from the National Commission who are at hand to answer any questions you might have. Matt Ragliabatti, our communications officer, is online, and so is Andrea Blick, who you probably know, who has been you if you are in contact with us about the whole process of. So we heard both the terms UNESCO chair and the term UNITWIN, and you might be thinking about for either a UNESCO chair or just the UNITWIN or both. There's a subtle difference in the two, as you will recognize are individuals. In the UK, chairs are defined as professors. The system. And these are colleagues who carry out world-class research in areas to the agenda UNESCO. UNITWIN is a network of universities that carry out research, urgency, and priority. So that's the difference between the two. We have examples in the UK where colleagues are just UNESCO chairs who run UNITWIN network. And we also have examples where we have colleagues who are chairs also running UNITWIN network. And our webpage, which you probably have access to, www.unesco.org.uk, lists all the chairs we have in the UK with fairly detailed information about what they do in terms of their research. We have 19 active UNESCO chairs / UNITWIN colleagues designations in the UK. And they have been very active. Our latest wider value study, so this was a study to quantify both financial and non-financial benefits designations. Chairs and UNITWIN network are one. And this shows that in one academic year, the additions in the UK were about 11.5 million. And basically, the UNITWIN and UNESCO chairs creating a global dialogue in a number of areas. And I will give you probably a few of those examples as I move ahead. So a bit of background information, thinking about applying for this. Who is a UNESCO chair? Well, a UNESCO chair is established as either a new teaching and research unit within the university. These are established chairs, i.e. in the UK context, I will use the term professors in UK universities, high quality research. Each of this unit basically roughly will have a team of people headed by this particular individual, i.e. Now, the reason why you will see the word chair and professor used in text is because a slightly different definition of chair. And for example, if you are in the German system, a chair is a person that would have gone through a habilitation process, which we do not have in the UK, before they are eligible to be a chair. Even though many do carry the title of chair, in the German system, they're not chairs until they finish the habilitation. Now, in the UK, a professor. So if a person holding a professor title in a UK university, that's a chair. What basic needs are established by UNESCO for a unit? Obviously, there's a unit. All units will be formal centers within individual universities. However, they will have a clear, this unit will be typically headed by the person applying, i.e. the potential shareholder. Most units have colleagues ranging from lecturers, researchers, all the way in some cases to other chairs. Very clear research agenda. Countries outside the outside the United Kingdom also have a variety of students and researchers from a number of countries that are basically conducting postgraduate studies or some form of training, research. Basically, the agenda here is that a UNESCO chair colleague who's already researching that is of complementary nature to UNESCO's agenda. In most cases, this is fairly straightforward because this is already equal in UK universities. National dimension is something which generally is well embedded in most universities, if not all. Highlight these dates at the end again. However, this is our one-stage application. First thing you need to do is you must declare an expression of interest online web page, and it's a very straightforward, one-sided, that must be commission before the 2nd of February. All deadlines are 5 p.m. Interest is primarily used to identify peer reviewers for the application. That's primarily the purpose of the expression of interest. It helps us manage demand as a commission and things with the delegates and UNESCO HQ here about the type and the nature and the number of applications they can expect. The second key date, rather, 8th of March. To make it very clear that if you do not submit your expressions of interest beginning of February, your application will automatically be considered for the next academic round, i.e. 2019. This must be received by 8th of March. UK time, 5 p.m. Number of other deadlines, and the document which is on our webpage gives you several deadlines. Deadlines are not for the candidate, i.e., they are deadlines we as a commission need to. However, it's useful for you to know the time scales, i.e., when will be sent to the panel, peer review, subsequently, if successful, to the and the National Commission's head office, London, and finally uh, the head office of UNESCO in Paris. So those are just in case you need to report back to your departments or your research office and say, this is the process, this is how long it's going to take. We have an entire, very detailed timetable on the web page. If you want any further information, of course, email us and I'll give you contact details. The criteria, the application. 14 rough criteria. None of these should come as great surprise. However, I'll highlight what they are. To potentially give you examples of what successful. Now the criteria is the quality of the proposal. Now, colleagues who are probably online might have in the past submitted applications of fellowships, responsive grants or call grants to the Research Council. Adopt the RC UK rules and direction as stated in HEFKI. So next, if you want to translate the definitions of high quality, etc., please refer to RC UK. However, this is the key criteria. Peer reviewers, who will explain later how we go about it, will primarily focus on this, and most comments will be around this particular area, and where applications in the past have been unsuccessful have been because the quality of the proposals haven't been to a certain standard. There's no obviously right or wrong answer because this varies from discipline to discipline. We have chairs in engineering, we have chairs in social sciences focusing on wider social aspects and impact of medicine on society, for example, looking at the effects of new vaccination in effect of disease in developing countries. Colleagues who are using of media and art to raise awareness of social issues like an integration of immigrants within society. So it's a very broad, no one template that is considered as high quality. However, the peer reviewers will be from those specific disciplines. Second, standing of the potential chair. Translates to is how active has the person been in the area they claim they. And again, this would be very similar to what you might have come across in RC UK. What are they doing? What type of connections do they have? Impact of their work over a period of time. The sort of things that are being looked at. Number 2. 3. Is the UNESCO chair working in an interdisciplinary area? Is it? Research linked to UNESCO's priority areas. Now, the area, I mean, you probably know of the priority areas of UNESCO. Again, they are on UNESCO's web pages. What we encourage and are looking for is how the research areas link to the wider development goals. As a UN body, as a member of UNESCO and other UN bodies have signed up to the United Nations goal 2030 agenda. Have a look at them. Very familiar with it if you're in this space anyway. Try to make it clear how your research fits to those priorities, and that's important to do. 3. How has the research development agendas at various levels? Research will have a clear-cut regional, national, global impact. Don't. Nevertheless, whatever the impact has been, that you clearly respond to those, express those in simple English. To see UNESCO chess from UNESCO as an organization that focuses on education, science in the broadest sense, that is arts and humanities, which of course includes heritage. So they are very broad. See a diversity as, but also we would like to see clarity in our UNESCO chairs. Chairs/net UNITWIN networks I mentioned earlier are on our webpage. Look at the chairs, you can see what they're doing. We do existing chairs. Are you complementing existing chairs? Would you be adding value as a potential chair to the UK, primarily as a, but also beyond the UK? And that's really what we're trying to see in point 5. 6, clearly state your objectives. That is possible in a given resource. And this needs to be very clearly stated. Indicate what your plans are, rather than, in some cases we have noticed in the past, plans of the university. And sometimes plans of the university and very grandiose. However, here we are looking for very clear objectives that are measured. And so make it as explicit as possible. They're reading, they say, okay, this is the plan for the next 2-4 years. They are your peer reviewers. They are in your discipline. They are the best colleagues to us as a panel, what is possible, what is not possible. 7, and activities, and this includes dissemination of outputs. Now here, what we are looking for is, in addition to the sort of traditional dissemination of output, is can this work be disseminated to a wider body? Remember, UNESCO is one of your network bodies. Over 190 odd countries are members of UNESCO. We would like to see as wide as possible. And there are several ways to do it. And I'm not going to sit here and explain to colleagues who already know the importance of these issues. One example that springs to mind was how is using as a dissemination vehicle. What she's doing is she has created a play. It is displayed in various countries through a number of mechanisms, including recordings. This play pretty much portrays what the chair is keen to pass on. Translated that play in terms of, it's a dance, into dimensions. For example, there is an Africa dimension to this dance as much as there is a European dimension to this dance. She is planning to engage with a very wide audience. where a chair is very keen to use games, convert digital games into a vehicle where citizens play a game because they enjoy playing games, but use that as a vehicle. So obviously, creativity here is quite important and interesting for peer reviewers. 8. Clearly, innovation and contribution has to be made, and that equally should come as no surprise to chairs in the UK anyway. However, sometimes when put on other aspects like objectives, timescales, etc., a very nice Gantt chart and letters of support, etc., that you sort of sometimes fail to very clearly make it saying, this is going to be my contribution, it's unique, and it's obviously world-class. 9, I am aware, academic as well as working with a number of UNESCO chairs, is there are a lot of other pressures on UNESCO chair. We see a lot of excellent vice chancellors from most applications. Reality of project start, there are other pressures on UNESCO chairs. We need to see a realistic project plan. Examples where we have had to go back on excellent, are you sure with the current job you're doing and the sort of title you hold in the university, you can achieve all the stated goals? They've had to come back and say yes, no, maybe, and subsequently rethink application. So that's the point I'm raising, because viewers will read and look and say, I know this guy, this, and it's a bit of a challenge to. 10. How are you going to sustain these projects? Are they going to be a pipeline of grants? What has been your track record in raising grants? Allowing certain money to this project? Whatever the evidence is, please make it pointed to appropriate skilled, highly skilled personnel. Now, if you are running a research lab or a research unit of your own, however, what reviewers are looking for here is from a late, or is this an ongoing activity from hosting a UNESCO chair? You have a big team in place. If you have a team in place, there are resources well get to this. So this shouldn't be a major issue in our context. 12, funding sources. Working with UN bodies, UNESCO bodies, or for the matter of fact, EU funding, again, if you literally listing the sort of grants you have in hand within your proposal, and that energy. Capacity. What is being looked at is primarily the type of support and the experience the organization has. Most UK universities to implement this scale of projects. So I wouldn't spend too much time here, and is fairly explicit. Last but not the least, potential to strengthen partnership and capacity in your organization. Clearly, you want a chair because you want to develop capacity in your organization, university. Tell us what that's going to lead. Tell us what that's going to look like. Tell us what the impact of this synergistic relationship is going to be. The criteria in that sense is fairly straightforward. Any great surprise when you look at this and say, okay, this was something I haven't thought through. If you haven't, we're very happy to engage with you, to give you potential examples or even links to chairs to have an informal conversation with you, your application. Once you download and submit it to us, we should run an open and transparent peer review process. This is in the public domain. Expression of interest document will allow us to identify 2 peer reviews for each application. A very broad college of peer reviewers, experts in different domains, all with a strong interest in UNESCO. It doesn't matter what type of application comes through, we are fairly confident our college of peers view your application. If we get more than 2, excellent, but we will ensure that every application has at least 2 peer reviews. Peer reviews are done in exactly the same way as in RCUK. So the 14 criteria I mentioned earlier, that the peer reviewers will assess each application and qualitative comments and will give a score. What you will get in an anonymized fashion step. So before considered at our panel, access to the anonymized page like RCUK. This is an opportunity for you any changes or address any factual or questions raised. Response you give, and I would encourage you to respond to them, but I would strongly encourage you to. Any treated in confidence in the panel. Remember, the panel does not re-review proposals. Purely take into account from the peer reviewers. The peer reviewers are your fellow colleagues in your disciplines on those criteria. We take your comments, factual inaccuracies that might have been there, and what is looked at by the panel. The panel members will consider the responses carefully, and each application is discussed in detail. So what I would suggest is a good response can make a difference at the panel meeting. So then the peer review response comes to us. Now, I will give you a date at the end, but please note to respond to those reviews. So please keep that date in your diary free, and I'll give you details at the end. The panel will meet. The panel has a number of experts, experience of similar applications in the past. Of this panel, looking at the prioritization process of the meeting is overseen by a senior UK national official. Colleagues on the panel have seen applications prior to the panel, so they've had a chance to look at the application as comments from the peer reviews, as well as they will have a chance to look at your response before the panel meeting. Well prepared. Earlier, I entirely on the peer reviews to judge quality proposals. Will primarily look at comments are from the peer reviews, putting them in order of priority. Final decision will be made. Again, the panel does not re-review the proposals. It's not only is it not the job of the panel, it might not be on the panel. Finally, quality is what the panel is also looking for when they're trying to decide the priority list. This process shouldn't come as a great surprise to most colleagues, because this is in sync with what are in the UK. Now, like RCUK, framework is online because it's the RCUK. You can access it on RCUK webpage. Will reviewer comments, which you have already seen. At this stage, once the decision is made, we do not act unless the has some very specific comments they would like the National Commission to pass back individuals. You will get a response saying we will application or recommending the application. Back for you will be provided, because that is the peer review feedback which you already have access to. Not provide other information. So that was the process for the panel. Reminder about key dates. Expression of interest. Very short process. It is literally a 1 A4 words, literally. Of EOI is for us to identify appropriate peer reviewers as well as to manage demand. Full proposal. My advice is, if you are thinking about putting in a full proposal, now I know some have already started it. Now, it does take some time gathering all the information. As I said earlier, please keep 14th of March free. Receive the feedback from the peer review, the better, and latest will be on 13th of March, but you will be given 1 day, 14th of March, 1-page feedback on any factual information you think in the review. So that's key date to remember. There are a number of other key dates, as I said to you. However, they are key dates for the Commission. Applicants need to worry about. A note of it in your diary, so can ensure that position to make a note of. Additional information which you might want to come to February, which is a Thursday, or UNESCO Chairs Colloquium. This is for the UK. Now, we colloquiums every 16 to 18 months or so. The last one was university. Some of you might have come there. Is on 1st February, and that is in Belfast. It's before the EOI of your 8th March deadline. If you would like to come, you are welcome. Please let us know, colleagues, and I'll give you the email address at the very end, and we can send you the information for the colloquium. Opportunity for you to meet successful chairs, conversations with them, effort they had to put in terms of a successful application. While the primary job of the colloquium is not you detailed feedback on potential applications. We are there at hand. Give you right pointers if you want to, but also a great opportunity to know what other fellow chairs are doing. So those are key dates. I'm told that the technology which we are using, which is Google Hangouts, does not allow you, because I think you're using YouTube to view this, your questions to us. And the best contact, you probably know Andrea, who is our accreditation manager at the National Commission. This is ablick@unesco.org.uk. She will be very happy to address any specific questions you might have, or if you basically want to get our EOI ready, there's no problem. And the deadlines are set in stone. 2nd February for EOI. For the full proposal, please keep 14th March free in your diary for getting back to the panel with the peer review. That we do not have the technology that allows you to directly ask me questions, I've been told. I think this will be the end of the webinar. Subsequent to this, we look forward to hearing from you if you have any specific questions or about individual or anything else about existing chairs. We'll be delighted to talk to you. We are very keen to work with you. We would like, as a country, to have more successful chairs, and within the UNESCO family process, and the U chairs are seen as the benchmark by the countries in that standard. Anything we can do to help you. So on that note, I shall stop the webinar now. This will be online on YouTube, which you can view at a later date if you were not able to join us today. Thank you for joining us. And feel free to email us any questions you have, and we will try to respond to them. In case we do not talk to you before that, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.